Hello, and welcome to my stream. Today we're going to be deconstructing the Beastie Boys' Shadrach, and from Paul's Boutique. And then after we do that, I asked a bunch of people to submit some music, some producers and musicians, and we're just going to take a listen to those songs and talk about the production and the mixing and the arrangement, or at least that's the plan. So if you are a producer or a musician out there, you are welcome to post something, and I will take a listen to it if we have time anyway. But before that, let's take a listen to Beastie Boys' Shadrach. No, the cup that I have, or the mug that I use, is called A Brief History of Art. And actually the reason I bought it is because it's huge and it holds a lot of tea. So yes, I have had a couple requests today actually for the Wise Guys, and so I will check that out. It's not a group that I'm all that familiar with. But I recognize that they have a good following. So anyway, let's begin here with the Beastie Boys. And so this is around 100 BPM. It's a little bit quicker than that, 100.66, according to my rip. And so the first one we're going to start off with is obviously the drums at the beginning of the track. And so there's actually a bit to go over here on this sample. This actually took me a bit of time to get exact, and I'll show you how I know that I got it exact once I get there. But the reason it took me a little while is that the first hit here it's actually offbeat. Like the drummer didn't get the groove immediately. Oh, actually, what am I talking about here? Why don't we have a quick listen to Rolls Royce and Do Your Dance? And this is where that drum beat comes from.
Do your dance to the rhythm. We just having fun. Well, do your dance to the rhythm of the drum. We're just having fun.
And I think Rose Royce also that the Dust Brothers sampled them a shit ton in Shake Your Rump, if I recall correctly. So, and yes, that is right. That the first bass drum and hi hats here. So, what I thought the Dust Brothers would have done is listening to this intro. There is lots of room to take a sample of these drums almost anywhere. Like, how many bars of the drummer playing do you need? But they still decided to take this sample right here at the beginning, which is actually out of time. Just ever so slightly, but it totally threw me off. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the second one here. And we're going to match it with theirs. It needs to be slowed down just a touch, I believe, or sped up. I'm not sure. No, slowed down. So we're going to start there. And the way that I know that this one was taken... the way that I know that this one was taken is that if you play the two together, Rolls Royce and Shadrach, they should phase a little bit. And once you have the sample on, if you play the two together and they phase, then you know you have the right one. And so, first of all, I think it's in the right channel. Let's check this out. So that's the left. Yeah, they definitely took the right channel. So let's play them together and let's look at the transients here to make sure that they match up. And it looks pretty solid. I think it's got to get a bit quicker there. And so that is the second bar. And then the first bar, we're going to do the same thing. But what we need to do is actually cut that bass drum. And I guess this is what they would have done in the sampler is, it's essentially, it's more work though. That's the thing that confuses me, is why they didn't take a different loop, because this is more work. But this is what they decided to do. So they took the bass drum and then they would have moved the hi-hats into place. And then we have our basic loop. And then we can throw away the rest of that. And there's a couple other things too. I don't know if you guys can hear this or not, but they actually panned the hi-hats left and right, and they put the bass drum right down the middle. For that loop. And so I'm not 100% sure what their process would have been, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate these two. And yeah, that's right. Yeah, Rose Rice was sampled in Shake Your Rump. That's a great question about the samplers that they used. I did read an interview, and I can't think of it off the top of my head right now, which one they used, because this was so early. This was in the I mean, this album came out in '89, which means that they would have been working on it from like, I don't know, '87 on probably. In fact, I read somewhere that this album was going to be instrumental, and they were going to release this album instrumentally. And then one of the Beastie Boys heard it and wanted to... Oh, there you go. Christian Victor thinks that it's the SP1200 probably, and I think you're probably right. But yeah, it was going to be an instrumental album. And then I guess the Beastie Boys got their hands on it and put some vocals on it. Anyway, so what I'm going to do here is I'm putting a delay on this to separate the left and the right channel. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter out any of the lows. And I can change how wide the field is by how much time I'm separating the two left and right. So I'm not going to make it too wide, but you can hear what I'm doing there. And then on the other track here, I'm going to take off that delay. I'm going to put an EQ here, and I'm just going to EQ out any of the highs and mids. And I'm going to pump up that bass drum. And then if we put this together, we should have that drum sound or close to. So here's theirs. And here's what I made. Too much bass drum, but you get the idea. Okay, so that is sounding pretty good. Actually, I'm just going to fine tune this loop just a tiny bit because I didn't quite hit these transients here at the back half of this loop. So I'm just going to quick do that because I'm hearing at the end of the loop it's not perfectly looping around, and that's going to bother me. So I'm just going to cut that off. And, you know, they probably did this stuff too. This is actually one of the things that separates, like, really, really good producers from people who take it more casually, is they'll spend forever doing this kind of thing. And the Dust Brothers were fantastic. They are fantastic. I'm hoping one day to be able to talk to them about some of their records and some of their production. Hi, Brian. Yeah, I did connect with Norman Cook after that last stream. In fact, we actually ended up on the phone together. We talked for about half an hour after the stream, which was pretty cool. And he was very open and very cool about my questions on some of the samples, and obviously it's nothing that I can reveal, unfortunately, but I'll leave that up to him if he ever wants to talk about those publicly. But yeah, it was really nice of him, you know, to reveal some of that stuff. Anyway, let's listen to our loop here. Okay, that sounds better to me. And then obviously comes in. So when I was young and when I first heard this track, it blew my mind. Like this vocal line just blew my mind. I just never heard anything quite like it. And so, of course, that vocal line comes from Sly and the Family Stone, and their track Loose Booty, which well, is a fantastic track. And, you know, the Dust Brothers basically took, you know, some of the best pieces from this to create this track. So let's take a listen to it. Like, how cool is that right there? So around the 1 minute mark, there's just this single bar where that vocal comes in. And then it never comes back in the song. But it's such a nice hook, you know? Yeah, this sample is pitched down a little bit. They didn't really care too much back in this time about whether or not things were in tune or not with the samples. It didn't really matter. It was more about the beat matching. And yeah, Christian Victor looked it up, and he said that it was the MPC 60 and the Emax sampler that they used for Paul's Boutique. So let's get this sample in here. God, so good. I mean, like, is it just my ears, or you guys, you know, I'm sure for a lot of people this sample sounds annoying. Maybe because it's very high pitched, but to me it just sounds so good. All right. All right, so that's actually pretty on, I think. I'm going to play the two together, this sample and Shadrach, and we'll see how they sound. Yeah, so I'm not perfectly on because it's not phasing big time, but it's pretty darn close. I'm gonna bring that down a little bit. I'm gonna throw an EQ on this as well. All right, so that gets looped a couple of times, 4 times. And then this sample comes in. Yeah, you know what? That's exactly what it is. It's the way that the voice is coming down and the bass coming up. In fact, like Sly and the Family Stone, like the bass is so. If you just listen to the bass, particularly in that track, and I mean most of their tracks, it is so on, and that's so difficult to do. Like it's a rhythm instrument, and you know, they make it sound easy, but it's not. And so I think, unless if I'm mistaken, I think the next sample is Sugar Hill Gang. But let's take a listen here. So let's have a listen to this track.
And of course it's me, the Master G. I said, ladies, you know I'm ready.
Okay, so there's the first instance of that guitar. Now, if you listen carefully to the Beastie Boys, you'll hear the rhythm of the bass drum. It goes dunk dunk cha to dunk dunk cha, and for the rest of these throughout the song, there's only one instance where that bass drum sequence happens like that. Because otherwise, there's always an extra bass drum here. And so I just went digging throughout this track, and I ended up finding it somewhere here, near the middle. There's a breakdown. It's not there. Yeah, so it's here around the 4 minute and 30 seconds mark. And so, yeah, and so I can tell that by the bass drum rhythm. And it's what, sorry, you know what, I got that wrong. It actually is here. It's here at the 4 minute and 12 seconds mark. And so anyway, we're going to take that and pop that in here. Also, is it just my ears, or is that track mastered and mixed with an incredible amount of highs? I wonder if that was intentional, or if that is the rip of the track that I have. Because that's a rough one on my ears anyway. All right, so let's bring this down a semitone, and I'm going to cut out some of the highs, not surprisingly. And we're going to pump up some lows too. And taking out those drums. And so this one is a bit out of time. You can see with the transients, they didn't exactly try to get this sample perfectly in time. You see like their snare hits are a bit off, but... And the other thing I'm hearing in theirs as well is actually a slapback delay. On the bass drum. And so I'm just going to pop that in as well. And we'll see if we can, come close to what they have. It's even slower than that. Yeah, it might actually be the rip of the track that I have. And it sounds like it sounds like a phaser, but it's actually in the track as well, I believe. Yeah, but you're definitely hearing that as well. But for the time being, this is where we're just going to stop here, and let's talk about the main drums.
Can you handle it? Yes, no, you can't hold a candle to it. Symmetry and the balance is right. Smoking and drinking on a Tuesday night. Not how you play the game, it's how you win it. I cheat, it's deal, it's sin, and I'm a cynic. For those about to rock,
And so those drums come from Black Oak, Arkansas, and their track Hot and Nasty from 1971. That is some Bocephus style singing right there. It's fantastic. Okay, so the drums are, again, one of the things I like about this track is that nothing is quantized too much, and that includes these drums. So it is the first bar, because the second bar is unusable because of the fill. The fill in the bass. So we'll just take the first bar, and we're going to try to match it up with their transients as best we can. So I think they actually even sped it up a little bit, which is an interesting choice. But it really gives the track some extra added dynamics. And actually, let's put it in one of these channels. Yeah, so the right channel, let's check out the left channel, which is quite reverby. So they just took the right channel. And we're gonna need an EQ on this as well, because as always, they're pumping up the lows. And let's try to loop this around. They made a couple of cuts as well at the second half of this loop, maybe with this bass drum. I think just to make the end of the loop kind of come together a bit better is what the cuts are about, because there's a bass drum here right at the end, and if you don't have the bar ending quite correctly, then you'll have a click, and as anybody who makes sampled music would know. And you know what, Theory? It's the same for me. I think this is, well, maybe it's my second or third favorite off the album, but it's right up there. Like, it's so weird that they put it right at the end of the album too. Like, I don't know why they hid this track. You know? Okay, and so the other element that's happening here.
Can you handle it? Yes, you can't hold a candle to an oxymetry and a
There's a bass line that's happening under there.
Can you handle it? Yes, you can't hold a candle to an oxymetry and the balance is right. Smoking and drinking on a Tuesday night. Not how you play the game, but how you win it.
Yeah, Car Thief is fantastic too. Yeah, so that bass, I was pulling out my hair trying to figure this out, because it so clearly came from Sly and the Family Stone. And I just couldn't figure out where the hell in this track it came from, because it's EQ'd so heavily too. And this track, Loose Booty, it's a very dense track. Like, there's not a whole lot of opportunity where there isn't vocals, or where there aren't any vocals. And so let's try to find that bass. And there's also a bit of drums in there too, but it's just that kind of groove. So it's actually this bar right here, which, let me see where that's at. Damn it. I had it and then I lost it. It's honestly, it's such a tiny little sample. It's right there. This damn sample. But you really need it in here over top of the drums. You have to have something. And the Dust Brothers are really good at this too. Where they always have a funky bass line going on underneath their drums. So let's check this out. See if we can put this together. And then right at the end of the bar, they all sing Loose Booty. And so what the Dust Brothers did is they took that half of that bar and they stole the bass line, or the bass from the beginning of that loop, and popped it in at the end. And so you get this loop. And then the other thing they did is they took away a lot of the highs. Let's listen to there so you can hear the reference.
Can you handle it? Yes, you can't hold a candle to an oxymetry and the balance is right. Smoking and drinking on it.
And then I think, I'm not sure if they boosted some of the lows here. Yeah, like the way that they cut this loop in particular, honestly, is fantastic. It's genius. Because I mean, just imagine this track, you know, without having that bass line there. Like it just wouldn't, you wouldn't be able to do it. And because it gives them an opportunity too. So after a couple of bars, they cut out that bass line. So there's the Sugar Hill Gang again. And then, like I said, they cut out that bass line. And we'll come back to Sly and the Family Stone because that's not the last sample that gets taken. So let's have a listen to what the next sample is. So they bring back these hi-hats from the beginning here. They're quieted up a little bit, and maybe the bass drum's actually taken out. Let's hear that. No, that bass drum's still in there, but they definitely made it a little bit quieter. So I'm just gonna do that quickly here too. They bring it back the bass, obviously. So let's talk about this kind of chorusy hook here. And where that sample came from. It's also, you know, it's another example of really nice sampling, to be honest, on the Dust Brothers part. So I'm gonna make a new track here with Sly and the Family Stone, and yeah, so we're gonna take off that EQ. I'm not actually sure. Do you guys know if this track is in stereo or not? Yeah, it is. Is it? With my headphones on, I'm actually having a difficult time hearing that. But either way, let's take a listen to this chorus, how that comes in. Okay, so it's here at the beginning. But what makes it really, really clever, what the Dust Brothers did, is they changed around the horn line at the end of each bar. And I'm not sure exactly why they did that. Like, you know, why, with the reason that they reorganized it, as you'll hear here. Okay, so we have most of our loops there, but as you heard, it's that da-da-da, but that's not what the Beastie Boys have. They have that other horn line there. In fact, it's taken from just before the bar. Okay, so we're just going to sub that in. We're going to copy and paste that in. And then that is used at the end. So the next one we're going to copy and paste from here. Or somewhere coming up. Right there. So we're going to pop that in and fit it to our loop. And let's see how this is sounding. And you know what? Let's put the drums over it too, so you can get a sense for that. Okay, and so that bar is coming up, but we're not quite there yet. So I'm going to take that. And there are those horns right there. But you see, like, you know, the amount of extra work that it would have taken for them to have moved these horn samples around to their liking. It's just, you know, it probably wouldn't have even taken that long, but the point is that they put the effort in, and it makes such a big difference in this chorus. And then, of course, the next sample is the woman singing. That's so good. I love her voice so much in this track. All right, so let's pop that in there and see how it sounds. Okay, so this one doesn't quite fit with the drums as well. You can hear some of the snares kind of bounce off each other a little bit. Shadrach attack. But what we're going to do is we're still going to move things around to try to be in time. So I think we're going to have to rush this sample a little bit. Let's see. And oh, you know what? I didn't do it. So this happens sometimes when you're copying and pasting, but I didn't copy and paste the drum loop very well. Like it didn't do it by the bar, and so that drum loop is actually a little bit off. But you can hear how those samples almost fit perfectly together, just not quite. And so they probably would have made some adjustments as they were recording this. Let's hear that on theirs. Yeah, you can hear like the double snare there. But it's all pretty tight. So and like right here at the end, they would have had to have adjusted this snare. I think anyway, which would have taken some time. Anyway, I would love to talk to the Dust Brothers about how they made this album. So maybe one day they will join the stream and say hello. Okay, so let's see where the song goes next.
Only 24 hours in a day. Only 12 well a man can play. Music for all, but not just one people. And now we're going to bust with the Bunny Swamp sequel. More Adidas sneakers and a plumber's got pliers. Got more suits than Jacoby and Myers. If not for my bike, and I've fucked out desire. I would be good just like Goodyear's tires. 'Cause I'm out picking pockets the Atlantic. And nobody wants to hear you 'cause you're out to damn frantic. Business and pleasure way too much. You know why? And women and songs. I don't get food. I gotta mean
I should also say on this chorus, they also have the hi-hat and bass drum from the intro, the Rolls Royce. And also another kind of hallmark of the Dust Brothers, where, and they never did it in too complicated of a way, but often they would accentuate choruses and other things by kind of jamming together all their samples, all the drum samples together. And that can get messy really easy. So I think that one of the things they did was to turn down and EQ out some of the other frequencies for some of their drum samples. But honestly, I've been shocked when I've been deconstructing some of Paul's Boutique by the amount of, or sort of the lack, the lack of EQ care that they would take, say, with bass drums. So there's often like a smashing up of bass drums that happens that you don't really notice unless if you're paying very close attention, but it's there, and it's probably just an element of the instruments, of the like the tools that they were using at the time.
Got more stories than JD's got Salinger. I hold the title. And you are the challenger. Well, I've got money, like Charles Dickens. I got the girlies in the coop like the Colonel.
So I think the last sample I'm going to talk about with this track is this one right here at the 3-minute mark. I always love that kind of stuff. That you know, every producer that the Beastie Boys worked with always seemed to put in such interesting elements like that, where it's just these. It always was a collage, obviously, but you know, one of the reasons they put this in actually for this track is because it actually fits with the drums and everything else. When you slow it down at a certain speed, it actually fits perfectly. And so that sample comes from Ball and Jack and Never Let Him Say. Not Jimmy. That's so funny. It really, now that you say that, there is a resemblance there, isn't there? Anyway, let's grab that sample, and they would have just beat matched it by slowing it down, I believe. That's funny, man. Okay, so yeah, in the left channel there are basically no drums. That's the right channel. So anyway, let's beat match that with the drums. So we'll slow it down. And we need to find the beginning of the bar. So you can hear how it just kind of fits well together. And I suspect, not knowing the answer, but I suspect that was one of the things that the Dust Brothers did, is they would just, you know, try different, obviously, like, you know, probably hundreds of different loops with this drum loop and with this, you know, guitar loop and whatever. And they would occasionally come across one that just kind of fit well. And so there are a few other samples in Shadrach, and I'm not going to talk about them today because they're fairly small, and I will save that for another video. So what I said I was going to do is I posted on Reddit that anyone could give me basically one of their tracks if they're a musician or producer, and I would take a listen to it, and we could all have a listen to it. And if anybody has any thoughts that are constructive, you're welcome to chime in. And I'm going to give my thoughts on their music, I guess, from a production and mixing and that sort of standpoint. So I think I'm gonna try that out right now. We'll see how it goes. The first comment I had was from Brett Dooley and their track "Ride the Demon." So let's take a listen to that now. I know we're kind of changing gears here, so I hope that's okay with everybody. But if you have a track and you want me to have a listen to it, feel free to post that in the comments. We'll take a look. Anyway, here we go. Let's have a listen to this one.
Lost in a whirlwind of pain. I hear what you say, but I'm not okay. Well, it's so easy to hide just one more time until I fall. Oblivion calls. Baby, do you see that demon? It's up on me. Baby, can you ride the demon that's riding me? I've been saddled up and rode into the ground, set on a course to collide. And I'm no lily white stallion for a night. I need your help to survive. So sharpen up your spurs and sit square and tall. Feel the claws inside, though my back's to the wall. And I know I'll never be free. Baby, can you ride the demon that's riding me? Oh, please, can you ride the demon that's riding me?
All right, so I have a couple of thoughts. There's a number of songs to go through, so I'm not going to we're not going to listen all the way through, if that makes sense. If anyone out there has any thoughts too, feel free to chime in. So here are my thoughts. I think the guitar is really nice, and well recorded. That acoustic guitar, and that's kind of a difficult thing to do because acoustic guitars can have a lot of bass, and it's a complicated instrument to engineer. And so you did a great job on that. And thanks, Royal. I appreciate it. Thanks for dropping by. And I think the voice is also well recorded. It's not there's nothing standing out in the voice in a bad way, and so that's a good thing. To me, the drums are lacking personality, and so from a production standpoint, I would highly recommend that you consider giving the drums something different. Maybe sampling an interesting snare, or taking the drums out altogether. I'm not totally sure, but yeah. So those are my thoughts on that track. I think you did a good job. I think the energy, I like the change, and I like the energy in the voice, and I especially like the change. I'm not a big fan of the piano that comes in. It sounds too artificial to me. But you did a good job. I don't know if you're here listening to this, but if you are, good job. Good track. And somebody's chimed in here about the books. Um, I don't listen to them a lot, but I do know who they are, and they make some awesome, interesting music. Okay, so somebody else pointed out they thought the vocals were too low in volume compared to the claps, and the claps were too metronomic. Yeah, which I don't disagree with. I think. I mean, you know, like I come at a lot of production from a drumming perspective, and that doesn't mean that it needs to have drums on it, but drums stand out to me, and so I agree with that. They just don't have enough personality. You know, one of the reasons why sampled music has always stood out to me so much is because you're taking a part of like some of these drummers we're the best in the world. They really are. And these grooves that they recorded have so much personality. Now, maybe I don't want to listen to all of Black Oak, Arkansas, Hot and Nasty, but maybe I do want to listen to this drum loop over and over. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the kind of thing. Like you need to capture when you're making music, you're trying to capture lightning in a bottle a little bit. You want to capture that energy, and that's what's going to make something that someone wants to listen to over and over again. Okay, so let's listen to another track. I hope that was helpful. I have no idea because this is the first time I've done this before, but I'm just giving you my professional opinion. Yeah. So Mark also commented that you could essentially unquantize the drums, and you could do that. I'm not sure that would give it the energy that I would be looking for, but okay. So the next track is from Fluid Turbulence and their track Dream Deceiver. Okay, so that artist was Fluid Turbulence, and they don't have all that many listeners, so check them out because that was a pretty cool track. I was impressed. I don't have too many notes. The mix actually was very solid. I think that they could have maybe brought out the bass drum a little bit more by having it act as a sidechain trigger on some of the lower basses that are happening. And I really like the bass in this track. I think it's got a nice dreamy quality to it. It has some personality. That's one of the things I really like about this song is that there's a bit of candy for the ears. It's not exactly something I've heard before. And as somebody who listens to a lot of music, if if you're a musician out there and you want to get your music heard, the best thing you can do is to make something that the listener has never heard before, if that makes sense. That doesn't mean that you should just scream into a mic or something like that, because that would be something I maybe have never heard before. But it's more about coming up with a concept, an idea. And so I'm not sure exactly how that relates to this song necessarily, but I just appreciate the vibe of it. It's got a good vibe. And so good job to that person. Like I said, Fluid Turbulence, excellent work. Okay, so looks like there's some thoughts in the chat. Somebody said, yeah, looks like people really dug this track. One person thinks the snare was a bit dry. I thought the snare was nice. I thought it had a nice quality to it. Yeah, I totally agree, Mark. That's a good tune. Okay. Franco, if you want to give me a link, you can. I don't know. Can you post links into the chat? Is that a thing that can happen? If you have a Spotify or something like that I can click on, I'm happy to check out your track. In the meantime, I'm going to keep going through. So let's see about this. This person is, the band is called Abnormal Oryx, and the track is called Fracture. So what I'll say about that track, I like some of the elements of it, and it's got a nice like choppy vibe and sort of a sampled kind of vibe. It needs, in my opinion, it needs more changes. Even to the rhythm, if you know what I mean. Like the best producers out there will get a rhythm going, and then they'll switch it up a little bit, and maybe they'll change, the drum sound or something, or switch up where the snare goes, or change the time signature for a short period of time. And those are all things you can do to kind of keep the listener's interest. And so that's kind of what I would say about that. I think, there are a few things to say about the mix as far as like the different elements, but mixing is really, in the eye of the beholder. And so it's not something I can say too much about. Like, if it sounds good to your ear, then that's what you should go with. You should be individual when it comes to those sort of things. That's a good question. So I guess, can you are you able to post a link in the chat or not? I wasn't able to get the place that people were posting stuff was on our music production on Reddit. So that's where these artists are coming from, for what it's worth. And so I had a thread going, and I just had some people posting some stuff. So I'm gonna keep going here, though. Do feel free to send me some music. This won't be the last time I'll do this, by the way. So if you have some music for me that you want me to listen to, and I should also say, kudos to anybody that sent in their music, because it's not that easy to have a stranger listen to it and critique it. So, it takes some courage to do that. Oh, I should say, this artist is called Midnight Noise, and this is their track "Forgetful Phase."
You want something that I don't have. I don't know why. Across the board, you're born and high. Forgetful face. I don't know why. Across the board, you're born and high. Forgetful face. I don't know why. I need some change to throw away. Unwanted noise is here to stay. If all is lost for good, I'll try again, just like you would. If all is lost for good, I'll try again, just like you would. But I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still here.
Okay, yeah, that's a good track. That's a well thought out, well recorded track. Somebody, Chili Bits, said before I started listening to that one, mixing it won't make a bad track good, but it can make a good track better. And I 100% agree with that. There are so many examples of that. I've always said, when people are so nitpicky about recordings and how, just this tiny, tiny little detail, blah, 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 in the recording, it's like, if you changed a little detail about any of the Beatles tracks, would people all of a sudden hate it? Like, if you EQ'd that snare just a tiny bit differently, you think people would give a shit? And of course they wouldn't. That's not how music works. People get way too caught up on that kind of thing. And so Mark says, not particularly keen on the cymbal rides from the start, would probably be better later in the chorus. And you know what? I totally agree, Mark. I had the same thought. I like the cymbals, but they can't, in my opinion, I don't think they should be going on the entire track. In fact, I would like to hear the track without them to give a bit of breathing room. And they could really be used as like an elevation of a certain part of the track maybe when they come in, because they do sound good, but they're not. I mean, like I like the compression. I like the breathing of them, the way that they breathe, I should say. Shaman says, I don't know if that's good, but I have a remake of Gangsta Tripping in my files. Are you interested? Oh, yeah. So this is going to sound weird, but I don't have Discord on this computer. And so you can't send it to me right now, unfortunately. If you have my email, you could send it there, I guess. I don't know if you do or not. I think you have my Instagram. So I'm sorry about that. If you can't put it in chat, then what would be the way to do that? You know what? You know what you could do is you could put it as a comment, maybe. I don't know if you're even allowed to do that. Maybe YouTube just doesn't have links. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's yeah, I'm just not sure how to get around that. So, and I thought the vocals were good. I thought the yeah, you know what? You could post if you can find my thread on music production, our music production on Reddit. You can post it there, and then I could see it there. I also just wanted to say about the last song. I thought the vocals were good, and they did a lot of vocal layering, which is a technique that like almost all pop music uses, whether or not you notice it or not. They like, you have the main vocal line, and there will be the singer will sing that vocal line twice or sometimes 3 times, and they'll just layer it together, and it creates like a bigger sound. And that's what this vocalist did. And so anyway, I thought that was good. That's a great track. And so that band was Midnight Noise, if you want to check them out. So this next person says that they were going for an 80s soundtrack vibe. So they are called Decker Canyon. Yeah, I got it. Sorry about that. You know what? Yes, always flexing the cup collection. Well, really, it's just this one cup, but yeah. So that track, I like it. You know what? There's a few things I like, and a few things I don't. So I like the lead lines, and I like the general vibe. Um, but what I don't think the artist necessarily has the best of would be the mix, and the mix isn't bad by any stretch. The mix is really good, but I feel like it could be a bit more dynamic again with the way that the bass drum and the snares kind of act with the rest of the track. It's very flat. There's no dynamic aspect there, and there could be, and it wouldn't be too hard to do. And so that would be my sort of my advice would be to try to make it a bit more dynamic. But I really like what you made. I like the lead lines. You did a great job. Franco, okay. I don't know exactly how you should do. Are you familiar with Reddit? Can you post there? Yeah. I mean, I guess that's kind of the vibe or whatever, but like, so I, I don't like to compare music, but let's say that you compare like a Comtrues to what we just heard. There's just going to be a little bit more dynamic element to Comtrues, if that makes sense. And not that his music is super dynamic, because it's not. Yeah. So, Franco, if you can go to Reddit and go to our music production, or just look up Reddit, our music production, and if you scroll through the comments, or not the comments, but the threads, you'll see one that is from me. And then you should be able to post it there, and I will see it and I will play it. So in the meantime, I got one from, well, we're going to call him Shaman. He's in the comments there, and this is his what is it? The remix of Gangster Trippin'. So, or remake, I should say.
What we're doing when the fat boys tripping.
That's a perfect reconstruction. It really is, man. That's fantastic. Like, so for those who don't know, the Mystic Shaman, he's been in contact with me throughout a bunch of my deconstructions, and so he's done some reconstructions of some DJ Shadow as well. And he is, if I'm particular, he is also extremely particular. And so yeah. And so anyway, he knows what he's doing. That dude is a, I don't know, do you have any songs as well? Like any songs that you have created of your own? Because I would like to hear those. Okay, so let's go to the next track. And so this one is by Leon, or sorry, their name is Brian Honeycutt, and the track is Leon. I like their grotesque usage of whatever animal that was. That's hilarious. Yeah, so there's all different levels of I have okay, you sent it to the Reddit chat. Perfect. Then I will find it and we'll hear it, Franco. Um yeah, there's all sorts of levels of music production. And yeah, and so it's not in order to get really good, you have to just do it over and over and over again. And that's kind of the thing. And so to me, like what we just heard there, it's a good track. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's like it's an artist who's beginning their journey, if that not beginning, but who's working on their journey, if that makes sense. And so I don't have too much more to say about that. There's nothing really about the mix or anything like that. There's nothing, I will say, there's nothing that immediately drew me in, if that makes sense. And that happens, for my own music all the time too. It happens. That's just the way the music is. So, and yeah, if you don't mind, that would be great, Shaman. Feel free to send me a link to that track and we'll take a listen to it. So, okay, we got a couple more here on the Reddit stream. I feel like I might have missed one. In fact, I think I did. Yeah, I did actually. So, you know what? Let's listen to that one first. This one, the person said that they produced it. This was the first one that they produced for another artist. And so the artist is Incognito, and the track is Incubator.
Incubator, 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 incubator. Simulation, dead inside. A shell of the time I won't stop by. Losing time, losing time. Is there a difference between dead and alive? Looking out for something new. Shedding, shedding, shedding too. Did I wake or did I lose? Waking up before in my incubator, 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 incubator. Turn it on. I don't really like it here. I think I need a change. Every day I'm disconnected. I don't wanna stay. In my incubator. Feeling shy, feeling shy. Tell me the truth or ask for a lie. Look inside, look inside. I think it went too far this time. Feeling like we'll never change. Now living life is just the same.
Yeah, I like that track. I think you did a great job. If you're checking this out, it's really chill and it was very easy to listen to, if that makes sense. And hello, Atomic. Yeah, I like the track. I think the vocals were really nice. They're clearly a solid vocalist. I'm not sure if I would have this is just a personal note, but like if I was producing that track, I might have changed the lyrics a little bit around. That happens in songs sometimes where like the lyricist will focus on a certain word and it just doesn't quite work to my ear. And incubator is one of those words. It's just a strange word that I didn't like very much, but I like everything else about that track, if that makes sense. I'm not ripping on the track in any way. I really like the bass of it. It almost gave me like you know, I honestly, I don't like to do comparisons because I think that does a disservice to music to compare it to something else, and so I'm not going to do that here. But you did a great job, and good job on the production. So again, that was, who was that? I don't have it up anymore, so I can't say. But if you liked it, let me know in the chat, and I'll find it again. Okay, so let's have a listen to this one. It is it is called Time Lapse from Chill of the God Sun. Yeah, that's just a nice chill track, you know? Not really, for that vibe of track, there's not too much you can really, once you get the vibe down, you just kind of ride it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need too many changes. You can take out samples here and there to make it a bit more interesting. Like, you drop the drums for a second. I don't know if you did that or not there, because I was just chilling listening to it, which is a good sign. But yeah, I like it. Could maybe drop out the vocals for like 30 seconds here and there. That would be my recommendation, like, or maybe change up the vocals a little bit. And that cutting. People seem to like the snare. Also, hi Atomic, thanks. Appreciate you dropping in. I'm basically trying some different streaming ideas right now. So if anybody has some ideas too, feel free. I think I'm gonna try to make Sunday kind of a day for streaming going forward. Just doing some deconstructions and maybe listening to some music. All right. So hey Franco, what was your username? I'll listen to it next if you can tell me what your username was on Reddit, because I can see a bunch of new links. Yeah, Ken says to drop the vocals bar here and there. I think so too. I think that's what you can do with that music. You have the chill, and then you keep going. Sunday sit down with Carl. Yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes. I was thinking of doing, because I compose music during the week, and I was thinking about maybe doing some streams where I just stream myself composing music. Or working on productions, and maybe talking about some of the productions themselves and like some of the techniques I would use, if that makes sense. Okay. So Franco, if you can tell me your username, I will check you out. In the meantime, I'm gonna check out another artist. They go by the name. Let's see. Sounds sarcastic, maybe?
I'm gonna goddamn kill you!
Please relax.
If I had a gun, I would shoot you dead!
Have you lost your mind? Please relax. This is not necessary.
Relax?
Relax. I'm sorry. I did not see you. Just relax.
You better open up your goddamn eyes and learn how to drive, you fucking mouse. You I'm gonna goddamn
So somebody asked if it's panned. Mark asked if it's panned to the left of center, and I didn't hear that on mine. Maybe somebody else can chime in. So I will say that that track was from 6 years ago, and you know how some music, so like it's a perfectly great track. Like it's mixed really well. The bass is good, the drums are good. There's no notes on that. Like it's obviously done by somebody who knows what they're doing. But I would say like the music itself, it's not. What's the word? I guess it's not terribly current, if that makes sense. You know how some music has a shelf life of 1,000,000 years. Like I would take like a DJ Shadow or even some Avalanches, and you can listen to it in 50 years and it should still sound fairly modern. It probably won't, but you know what I mean. Let's even say 10 years. And then other music, it's just the sounds and the vibe really stick it to a certain time and place. And so that's what that reminded me of a bit. Great track though. Good job. Like you know what you're doing, and yeah, great work. Thanks for posting. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. I think eventually I'm gonna have to run into your track, Franco. If you posted it, then I will run into it. Okay, so this one is called, oh, I believe you're in the, yes, you are. You are in the stream. This is from Gresh, looks like, and their track Midnight Strikes. So that is really cool. I like that a lot. The change in the bass, like when the bass first came in, I was like, I was like, I don't know, it like almost conflicted to my ear. But then as soon as the bass changed, I realized what you were doing with the track, and honestly, I really really like that change. I like the way sometimes a bass line like that can just bring out some other elements in the song to my ears, and you did that with that one, and it reminded me a little bit. That happens often with like certain shadow tracks and that kind of thing, where like the bass will change and then the whole track changes, if that makes sense. Anyway, you did that. You did a great job. Are you a scratch DJ? Like, is that you? I'm assuming that's you scratching over top. So when I said earlier that some music is dated or whatever, that's not an insult, by the way, to music. Not all music needs to be timeless. Um, and so, like the fact that you are good at, making that sort of style of music, you gave it some personality, and that's what I like about it. Like it's even a little bit more than personality. Um, it had like a darker element. It actually reminded me of something that could have been like on the Crow soundtrack from a bit of a different era, if that makes sense. Like it had a certain darkness to it, which I really liked. So good job, man. I don't, yeah, you don't hear a whole lot of that anymore. Like um, the scratching. Do you still make, like how recent is that song? Okay. Okay. So Civil Fred, who I just met today, really, and I think is watching. Anyway, they sent me something here as well. Let's see what some of the comments are before I move on, though. Yeah, Mark says kind of early '90s hip hop, East Coast rap remix for playing at 3 a.m. Yeah, it's true. Like that. Hey, that's great, man. I really appreciate that. Like I never learned that skill, scratching, but I left that up to the professionals back in the day. Um, but I really appreciate it. It is an interesting thing. It's like that's kind of the original beat matching. I don't know if you do any of that, but I remember like going to some shows where, you know, they're doing like the proper beat matching on two turntables, and playing the half the beat on the left and half the beat on the right. It's in fact, I was thinking about that the other day because I used to go to some shows where they would do that, and I haven't seen that, or I haven't heard of that in like, I don't know, probably 20 years, which is kind of too bad. Okay. So let's check this out. This is SOD and Enakena. And so this is from Civil Fred. Whoop. Why don't we start at the beginning? That is quite the mashup of things. What is the what are the vocals out of curiosity? They're really cool. I like them. Um so actually, you know what I just realized? I'm such a newbie to streaming that I have the stupid thumb. I have the thumbnail from the Fatboy Slim stream up on this one, so I'm sure you all noticed that. But what a fool! Um, oh, De La Soul is now is now online. That's amazing. You know what? That's funny. It's funny you say that because uh yeah, I will likely do a deconstruction coming up there to celebrate that fact. Okay. Um I think what I'm going to do is I just don't want to blow off anyone's ears here. So I'm just going to turn down the volume and and open up this Bandcamp link. And I don't know, you know, if this isn't from what's if this isn't from Franco, then I didn't get your link, dude. So sorry about that. But anyway, so let's check out TBD by Nilbegs. Yeah, that's a cool tune. Um, are you, out of curiosity, are you a drummer or was that program drums? If you don't mind telling me. Oh, nice. That's all programmed. Yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate the work you did on the drums there. I mean, what I like about your tune is that there was clearly a lot of work put into it, if that makes sense. Um, and it kind of comes off. It comes off well, and like that arpeggiation, just holding things together, like the doom 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 doom, like that being kind of the thread throughout the whole song is a really nice element. It kind of that's sort of the glue that holds things together. And yeah, I mean, I honestly don't really have any notes. It's a good tune. I wouldn't really change anything. You got some nice breaks in there, like the drums break out and they come back in a nice way. Yeah, there's nothing that stands out like in a bad way. That's a good tune. You did a good job. So there's one more track left, and then I'm going to go make myself some dinner. And this one is also, well, this is from Chill Bits, who I believe has been commenting a bunch. Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Chill, for sending this. And after this one, I'm going to be on my way. Well, nice job. That's a great track. I like just the general vibe of it. There's nothing like the snare on the reverb, for example, stood out to me because it's just the right amount. There's not too much, it's not too little for that sound, if that makes sense. Um I agree with Gresh. I like the vocal cut up was interesting. It was a nice change that came in there. And again, I'd never quite heard a chop like that necessarily. Um, yeah, that was a good tune. Thank you so much for everybody for dropping by and for sending in some music. I'll have to figure out a way. Maybe we can do a Discord server or something like that where people can post some things, and I'll get that going on this computer. Because in the future that might be a better way to do it. Because I didn't know that people couldn't post links in the chat, which kind of makes sense. But anyway, so and yeah, Franco, we maybe we can do that one of these times with the streams where people can just request some songs. I've got some ideas coming up as far as music listening is concerned. So maybe I'll try that out one of these Sundays. So hey, thanks so much, guys, for being here and making me feel welcome. I'm new to this world, so you know how it works. I'm just kind of getting my toes wet here. Really appreciate it, and thanks everybody that submitted music. I know it takes a lot of courage to do that, so I appreciate it. All right, hope you guys all have a great night. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.